All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a pretty stark warning that's coming out of Europe's top climate advisory group. And it's a message that, yeah, it starts on one continent, but trust me, it has huge lessons for the entire world, especially for developing nations. For years, the big climate goal, the one everyone talks about, has been that magic number from the Paris Agreement, keeping global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But what if that goal isn't just difficult? What if, as a major new report is suggesting, it's actually increasingly out of reach? Because get this, Europe's own top scientific advisory board is now telling policymakers to prepare for a totally different number. They're being told to get ready for a world that's 2.8 degrees Celsius warmer by 2100. That is a massive shift. And here's the thing that makes this a really big deal. It's who is saying this. This isn't just another study. This is a formal advisory from the European Scientific Advisory Board on Climate Change, the ESABC. It's basically a quiet but incredibly significant admission that the fight against climate change is moving into a new and honestly much more urgent phase. So yeah, this is a sobering new target, and it signals a pretty fundamental change in how we think about climate policy. See, for decades, the main focus has been on just one side of this whole climate equation. That focus was almost all on mitigation, cutting emissions to try and slow the planet's warming. But what the ESABC is saying now is that mitigation alone just isn't going to cut it anymore. It has to go hand in hand with a huge push for resilience, which is all about adapting our societies to handle the effects of a world that is, let's face it, already warming up.
And while this report came out of Europe, the threat it's describing is being felt literally everywhere. And that brings us right to our second point. This is a shared climate threat.
This really tells the story, doesn't it? The analysis notes that Europe might be the fastest warming continent, but the crises themselves, they're universal. We're talking intense floods, deadly heat waves, out-of-control forest fires. These extreme weather events are popping up all over the globe, and they're all mirroring each other in just how intense and terrifyingly unpredictable they are.
Okay, but here's where the story gets a lot more complicated. While we're all sharing these wild weather events, our ability to actually deal with them is, well, it's worlds apart. Which leads us to Section 3. Different worlds, different fights. This table just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got the European Union. Generally, they have really strong, established social safety nets and super effective early warning systems for disasters. Now compare that to a developing nation like India. Here, a massive part of the population works in agriculture, which also makes up a big slice of the GDP. That makes the entire economy way more vulnerable to climate shocks. So you see the problem, right? Developing countries are facing this unbelievable double burden. They have to protect their most vulnerable people from a crisis they had almost nothing to do with creating, while at the exact same time, they're still trying to build the absolute foundations of their economies, things like jobs, infrastructure, and public services. And that brings us to what the source points to as maybe the most critical difference of all. Let's get into Section 4, the infrastructure dilemma. Think about it like this. On one hand, you've got Europe's legacy infrastructure. Its highways, buildings, train tracks, power grids, all of it was built for a stable, predictable climate that just doesn't exist anymore. But in a place like India, so much of that infrastructure is a work in progress. It's being built right now. And inside that huge challenge lies a massive, massive opportunity. So how are we supposed to look at all this pretty sobering news? Is it all just doom and gloom? Well, not necessarily. And that's our final takeaway in Section 5. This warning is also an opportunity. The real message here, the big one, is that this European report shouldn't just be a warning for Europe. It has to be a lesson for the entire world. For the planners and builders in developing nations, this is a crystal clear signal to build climate resilience into every single project, right from the beginning. And so that leaves us with this final, really powerful question to chew on. As one part of the world is grappling with how to adapt its past, can another part of the world use that same warning to build a more resilient future from the ground up? Can a warning for one continent actually become the blueprint for another?
And you want more stuff like this to help you prep and learn? Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button.